Hello. Welcome to the final spooky episode of Arc 26. Write once, read many. We have Vic,
I
which
was
is the
scared.
scariest thing of all.
I was scared you were gonna say the final episode ever. And I was like, oh my God, is that what happens at the end of this?
Scream!
Ah! Imagine if this was the last chapter of Worm.
That would be pretty crazy, actually.
That would have been so baller.
There's stuff I feel like that, especially on, the, the whole thing where Taylor was gonna die at the end of Arc 8. Like, if that had actually been the ending, it would have just been so,
It would have been so
devastating.
hardcore.
Yeah, like, that, because she's like sitting there like can't see because there's all the dirt and mud in her goggles and stuff, and she's just like
Yeah.
slowly drowning. Yeah, it's crazy.
This version would end like our last scene with Taylor was just everybody being like, "Wow, we won! This is awesome!" And then and then it's over.
Oh man, yeah.
Well, this is my Scion. As you can see, he's got a bunch of little arms reaching out of him, like like shards of himself. And he's got all these human hands grabbing at him, worshipping him, asking him to save the world and also not to kill them. But he's just too sad about his bay.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I thought this was great, especially like us talking about hands the last couple episodes. Um,
Yeah.
I just think it's, I don't know. Again, I'm not sure if it's just a Wildbow thing, but it feels like a specific parahumans thing of like hands. Um,
Yeah.
well, also because like the whole thing of people reaching out for connection. There's like
Yeah.
there's the connection between the like shards and the hosts, and then there's the like literal interpersonal connection between regular people that can cause them to not become parahumans.
Yes.
Yeah. So the hands, very good. Um, and then yeah, the audience participation question is: if you were Cauldron, would you have tried to bring more people into the plan and let them know to be ready for when blank turned against the world?
Very good.
Blank is, as we can reveal in episode, Scion. It's clearly Scion.
This it was clearly Scion. He never calls himself Scion himself, but I saying the entity really is a mouthful.
Yeah. And saying Zion is like kind of weird too, because it's like the vast majority of the book they don't refer to him that way. So
Yeah, yeah. He's like not identified like that. He just said it the one time.
yeah, yeah. It's like a concept that he's not that tied to. He doesn't think of himself as like
Oh,
this entity or what remains of the
uh,
entity.
it's like that scene in Firebringer where he's like, "Oh, my name's Grog," and she's like, "Greg," and he's like, "Sure."
Yeah. Um Greg, of course, has the excellent Palpatine. I mean, Scion did it.
Yeah.
Although, unlike Palpatine, where it's very clear from the start that Palpatine's the evil guy, I do think it's a bit of a shock to a lot of readers that Scion turns on them. It's certainly a shock to the characters.
Yeah. This was like a good twist. I mean, even if you were like pretty sure, because I mean, end of the world, and they're like, we need to quarantine people, and then fucking Scion is the
But then there's
most
like the red
mysterious
herring,
golden guy.
yeah, of like the him being trapped in the time bubble. Felt like it
Hmm.
was real. I guess it. I was sold that
Yeah,
it was true.
yeah. I mean, he like even in this chapter, he like touches it, and he's like, "Oh, I see. They trapped me." But
Hmm.
he could have just like pushed past the barrier. It's just like he has to activate his power, whatever power he needs to do it or whatever. He's kind of like uh I guess it's like news to us that he like kind of can pick and choose. I don't know. He kind of like pulls and discards powers in a similar way to, oh my God, what's his name?
Eidolon.
You know. Yeah.
But he does have like more of a core set of like
Mhm.
I feel like it seems like the only reason he was trapped in the loop was because he was just being so passive and not like moving. I don't think he
Yeah.
even needed to swap out powers. I think that there's his central power is like the one that he uses to quell like the tsunamis, which he seems to infuse like oppositely into his like punches and stuff. And
Mhm.
it, like I'm not sure, but I think that might even be the same power as his beam power because like it's just
Yeah, it's just like
applying
a
the waves
force.
in a different direction, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah,
So like that's
exactly.
so like omnipresent. Like that's the way he cleans his outfit. Like all sorts of things. That's the way he heals
Mhm.
people. That's the way he stops people's hearts. Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
um,
You want to talk about themes? You wrote a lot.
yeah, I wrote all of them, and then I wrote conflict,
Mhm.
manufactured conflict, escalation, evolution, survival, coping with loss slash grief. So,
Yeah.
I believe you appended these two, but they were needed. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Just like the, because I feel like there's like the evolution side of it, but then there's also Jack directly referencing like survival and like what our ancestors did and like like making that synonymous with violence.
and he's also he's come back to that idea a couple times. So it seems to be
hmm
not just a throwaway idea for him. It's like something that he either likes or is fixated on.
Yeah, I mean in this chapter specifically he like says he doesn't say like what Sophia says where it's like all people are predators or prey or whatever. He says evil people, psychopaths are predators and like he just that's just where he lands. He's just a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and I like that
um
he. I do like that he's like saying it's not like the strongest survive or survival of the fittest. He doesn't
mhm.
really believe that. Because I
Yeah.
mean, it's really true. Like we've seen, like characters whose powers seem like ridiculously unbeatable just be defeated. It's not the strongest who
Mhm.
survive. It's like the survivors who survive. It's just
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, Jack doesn't really say, I mean, he does a fucking lot of talking, but he really doesn't say that much. It's really all he says.
Yeah. One of the
Yeah,
saddest
pretty
things
basic.
that is that much like in real life, Scion is just so easily radicalized,
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
soulless, empty vessel, and he is like he's just won over by like
Enters
such
the
simplistic
manosphere.
reactionary ideology. Basically, it's
Yeah.
just like just be
It really
evil.
takes like
Blah!
it takes like the smallest push with like not very much like logic or reason behind it, except that like it's an option.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, yeah, you're right. I've never tried that before.
I could just blow up everything. You're right. You're right. Interesting.
Interesting. Raw
Um.
power.
Uh. But I think that not only like brings to bear the themes of the book, but this like codifies like this. None of this stuff was on accident. Like it's almost beating you over the head with it. But I think that it's so stylistic that it like threads the needle and is a good chapter, even though it's just like look, this was the thing all along. I just think it nails it. But what do you think?
Oh, I also want to say like symbiotic relationships is a
Oh,
thing
yes.
because we didn't know before this what exactly the like agents were getting out of it or whatever. But this chapter kind of clears that up that the they're getting the same thing. They're getting more power and strategy and technique
And like
and they're
some
like
of it we
feeding their
almost
current power.
like I didn't infer it, but it feels like it could be inferred from the previous information up to now. Like a lot of the
Mhm.
information on like not like on a direct exact way, but like in a more general sense, I feel like a savvy reader who is not me could have figured out that like, oh, the powers are like becoming more powerful by building up this data. They were clearly like
Yeah.
drawn to conflict. I was just so like enraptured by the moment to moment of the Taylor life and stuff that I feel like I was really just like shooting through the story and really focused
Y-
on Taylor's perspective and what it meant for her specifically.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like all everything's like laid out already. And then this is like such a cool chapter because it just like it is like supposed to be this like all clicking into place kind of in the same way that the characters are experiencing it.
It's also like to me one of the strengths of Worm is that a lot of times it feels like when you learn new information because it maps so well onto what you've already seen, it feels like you learned it much earlier until
Yeah,
you like
yeah.
go back and re-examine. Like it's easy for just everything to slot into place, and I felt that way
Mhm.
throughout Ward as well, personally.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah, we could start in on the chapter thing. Do you want me to
We're
read
starting
this?
off with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so in the beginning, a species chokes their gray planet. The creatures worm in and around one another, and the planet has as much space taken up by the creatures as there is space left over or left for other things. Each has evolved the same capacity to shift between layers, to explore the alternate versions of this same world, and each of these other worlds are choked by more of the same creatures.
Yeah, this it just isn't a sustainable way to live. Clearly. Um, so this is like I'm gonna just start out by saying the perspective in this chapter is really strange because of the like innate qualities of the entities. So like these are memories that the entity or scion can access, but these are from like their ancestors or whatever. And then
Yeah,
like
like
they
these
they
dudes aren't
evolve,
Scion.
evolve over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
So
and
I don't know.
he
It's
like they even early on in the chapter like one of the like the one that sends out the message is not like the survivor who like rises up and wins whatever like war. It's like one of the first dudes to be eaten.
yeah. So once the food is out, the ancestor knows the whole planet will just break out into war, and then only a few entities will be left to flee off onto other worlds and repair, feed, reproduce, and continue the cycle. Um, so the ancestor wants to prevent this and uses the last of its strength to send out a idea to everyone. And the others listen and they transmit the message out further, and then they eat the ancestor when it dies. And
Mm-hmm.
I have a quote here.
The shards are absorbed, made a part of the eater, and the ones who eat swell in size, unsustainable sizes, but they grow nevertheless. All across the possible worlds, the creatures turn on one another. it is a war, but it takes a different shape, a different form. This time they are not eating for energy, but to stay afloat and stay large enough that they are not subsumed by a greater whole.
Mhm. So, several years pass like this, and only a few entities are left. And the smallest ones just know they're not going to be able to survive, so they just allow themselves to be eaten until there are only two left. I think this is interesting because they like each of the three times they do like the planet cycle, there will be two of them left that do it together, but it doesn't seem like they evolved to do that until the third cycle, right?
I think yeah that this time I'm not sure if they just like the two were finally able to come to a détente because there were finally so few and they were able to work together on this, but they don't have a way. They're not like traveling in pairs at the start, so it's completely coincidental on the planet in a bit. As far as I can tell, the two shards
Hmm.
ended up in the same place.
Yeah. So, they kind of reorganize themselves. They push all of the remaining heat and energy all into one reality and then release it to shatter the planet in each of the universes.
It's damsel
So,
of distresses power, like maybe the like one of the earliest powers because it's from before the cycles.
mhm, yeah. So now the entity travels through space and it finds a planet that it can gestate in for a few years. It starts like enacting, I think that it's enacting the concept that the ancestor had given, which is that they should like send out their shards into hosts. Is this the plan?
Um, I think so. So now the entity travels through space. So it's kind of I think the plan generally is to like go places. The plan to like use a host was only used as a hiding mechanism to escape getting like acid rained. Um,
Oh, right.
so
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
just a
So,
coincidental like mutation,
okay,
which
okay.
then gives it this
I just want to
time
make
to
sure
build
that this
data.
was the first time that they were sending their shards out into hosts.
Yeah, and
So,
I think it's even
yeah,
more like primal than that. I think it's like this is a solo shard that is going into one creature, and then it does multiply, and become more of a
mhm,
shard cluster. But I don't think that
yeah.
this is as complex an organism as Scion. I think it's like the equivalent of a
Yeah,
single
this is
celled
definitely the
organism.
yeah, this is definitely like the very start of that. So, yeah, and then and at some point the entity encounters another creature or another entity on the planet, and they exchange shards. Very cute. Um, and then the entity decides it's time to move on to bigger, better things, and it draws all of the shards back into itself, and all the shards have all this knowledge and information that they learned of being plant things.
They love being plants, dog.
And then I don't really know what happens here. The other entity like comes and attacks it a little bit and injures the shard, and then like
Well, they like
seems
spar
to
and
show them
they
how to mutate them.
they like spar and then it's able to like through the conflict data that it gets. This is like the first time where it's not using like like conflict of plant and nature, but using conflict
Mhm.
of like shard versus shard. Um,
Yeah.
so this is like the thinker. I think that essentially like the first version of the thinker, the thinker, as the
Hmm.
like one coming up with this idea to do like this combat between the two entities because as far as I understand, they're not able to have shards from their own cluster battle and get like new data because it's just them. It's like playing chess against yourself. Like you can do
Yeah,
it,
it
but you're
just
not getting a lot out of it versus playing another person.
yeah, yeah,
And
for
then
sure. So yeah,
yeah.
they do this like cute little battle thing and some of their shards mutate and stuff. And then the entities blow up the planet and they're scattered back into space. So, the next planet they go to has intelligent life, and the shards have more of a symbiotic relationship with them rather than just like parasites on the plants like they were last time. Until a war breaks out between those with shards and those without, and all of the non-capes of the planet find and kill the ones with shards. So the entity moves on
And you
and
got to think
here.
because this is so early on, there probably was way less power variation, but I think that like their powers were probably like ridiculously strong. But it does sound like it's a
Yeah,
very futuristic society.
yeah, yeah. They're like not having um I mean, they're able to like find and kill them really quickly, seemingly. And the entity isn't limiting their powers like they do later on to optimize things.
Yeah.
They're just like sending out the shards right now.
Mm-hmm. Um. Yeah. Are we at
This quote.
here? Okay. The entity recalls all of this as it swims through the void and makes its way to the next target. It can reach back into the depths of its memory to recall all of what came before. Each time the cycle started anew, lessons had been learned, methods refined. Each time the spawn that spewed out from the destroyed planet are more robust, larger, hosting innumerable memories. Where memories fall in parallel, they are shared out, offered to others.
So the entity has been through 3,000 cycles. And so they got sick ass powers now and a girlfriend, which is
Yeah.
great. It it uses its precognition to find a destination, which has a planet rife with bipeds and conflict. Perfect. So it examines all the possible alternate universes. It's trying to find the perfect one to optimize things, and it calls out to its partner, but it feels like their partner is acting passively and not giving their full attention to the decision. I like this because it's like Cyan has a personality that you can like equate to human beings like really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's like annoyed right now. He's like, what could she possibly be doing
Babe,
that's
are you
more
even
important than
listening,
this?
babe? Babe?
And he's like doing all this stuff and being like, yeah, yeah, and she's like, yep, and he's like, oh my god.
Bro,
Are you even
she's
paying
like eyeing
attention?
that scrawny guy over there.
Babe, why are you dancing with him? Oh my god. So he's sorting through all the possible worlds, and then this smaller beta entity arrives, and the counterpart intertwines with it and shares a bunch of its shards. In fact, too much shards, which is what the entity is thinking. But the counterpart is confident that they'll be able to build everything back up again at the end of the cycle when the two of them reunite. So they plan to focus in on one reality to increase conflict there, before expanding to the other worlds. So they settle on one reality to focus their conflict in, and then they dole the rest of the universes out. They kind of like stack them in groups and then give them to individual shards for them to draw their power sources from.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a quote here.
Each shard, in turn, needs a target. The entity's focus expands, designating likely partners. Past mistakes have been accounted for, and the shards will connect in a covert manner. They will rest in other worlds, uninhabited worlds, and they will remain cloaked and concealed in areas this new host species is unlikely to explore. I will say, maybe like in the first iteration where they were the symbiotic with the people or whatever, they would like be a dude who was physically like latched to the top of a giant
Like,
crystal, so it was really
yeah.
easy to find.
That's true. The shards, the shards were probably physical.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now they're hidden. Like we've learned a lot in our 3,000 cycles. Okay,
Mhm.
so the entity adjusts the process so that the hosts don't burn up when they bond, and then debuffs specific powers so they're not too OP. That would be disastrous. The entity breaks up one of the shards and adds it to all of the other ones to prevent the hosts from remembering details about their shard or from their shard, like retaining the same memories they have. Um, and then it sends the remains of that shard to connect with the host in 33 years. But it he finds that the offspring is actually a better target in the situation, like the um the trigger. I don't know. He looks out into the two possible versions, and he sees Aisha's dad at this same trigger event or whatever, and he's not distressed enough. So the shard jumps to Aisha, and
I do
she's
think it's
distressed
kind of
enough.
funny. Like the thing is like he'd be shitty with powers. Give it to her.
Yeah, exactly. He's way too calm right now. So
Which is the
yeah,
same thing
it
that
connects
happens
with
to Taylor. It's
Aisha.
just like, ugh, gross. Danny's gross.
What were you thinking? Um, it reaches out, so like it bonds with her, and then it reaches, like physically reaches out for information around it, and then adapts accordingly and like fixes itself into one specific power. So pretty cool. Um,
And I think that the
the
ones the ones that are sent out by Scion, since they're like properly powered, unlike the like Cauldron ones, are like consistently getting better data and like doing a better job of like actually like reaching out and finding stuff. That's why Cauldron powers will leave you with like
yeah, because
gaps in your
yeah,
body or whatever because they're like, I don't know what to do.
yeah, the Cauldron powers didn't get the correct fail safes before they were sent out
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. Um, yeah, so the entity looks into the future and it seems that all of his prep has been successful. It relays its findings to its partner for it to make the same changes to its shards. So I guess it like, well, no, because the way that call well, I won't talk about that. Some of the entity this entity does send out some of its shards, but all the people with cauldron powers didn't get prepped shards.
Yeah, I mean, we
They
can.
were
I think it's
unprepped.
fair to say the one we see in this chapter, Vicaire, um,
Hmm.
is a like shard sent from the other entity. Which I'm just gonna
Hmm.
spoilers. The other entity goes by Eden within the parlance of the book. It's not really said. It's kind of like you can see it in the
It's
tags for a
implied.
chapter, but
Yeah.
I'm just gonna call this thing Eden for ease. So it's an Eden shard that is not properly formed or prepped, but basically Scion, by like interacting with it directly, will be able to fix that. So Which makes you
I
think, you know?
don't think that's what happens. I
Oh
think
no, he just
that
fixes the guy so that he can get the power, but it's
I think it
still
just takes
dead.
away the cancer so that it can, yeah, but it's still, ugh, okay, yeah. Oh, poor Zion. Okay, what was I saying? It does its prep, the other one does its prep, but obviously that's not going to be helpful because it's gonna die. And they are, oh yeah, so they're like both getting close to Earth. They're like almost at Earth and they start to kind of disperse themselves. And then I have a quote here.
The counterpart is descending. Having selected a destination world, it is hemorrhaging shards in clusters, due to an excessive exchange of shards with the lesser one, too soon before their arrival at their destination. These shards are breaking off in huge volumes. A check confirms these shards are coded, that everything is technically well. Danger. The entity broadcasts. Confident. The counterpart replies.
The counterpart is overly confident. um,
Oh, that's
the
like a Palpatine thing too. Overly confident. Your faith in your friends is yours. Something.
mm,
It all comes back to Palpatine.
I can't believe Palpatine was based off of Worm.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. The shards have all been assigned to hosts now, so they just are waiting until the right moment to shape their function. The entities finally meet up in person and they share shards. He tries to like shore up the other one as much as he can. The entity like one by one strips the last of its shards that it can spare, and he cripples them because these are the good ones. So then he lands on a barren version of Earth and creates a body for himself, but is strangely not joined by his counterpart. So he moves himself into the target reality, and I have a quote here.
It can see its shards showering down from above like meteors traveling the void, the first to arrive. It can see the shards of the counterpart. Not all are intact. Dead shards, damaged ones.
Yeah, so the entity knows that their counterpart is dead, and he doesn't know what to do with himself, because this means that the cycle is broken, so the entity isn't going to be able to gestate or continue the cycle, like get all his shards back, because over the years they've designed themselves to be symbiotic with each other. Um, so like if either one of them died, they would have been screwed. Um, and then on top of all this, the entity literally just gave itself like a human brain and and like emotions. And so now it has to deal with grief for the first
Oh
time and it's
no,
its
I wish
first
I'd known
ever
this
feeling.
before I'd created this human brain that can't fathom it.
Oh God. It's just like it's just horrible. The perfect storm. So while the entity is just like hanging there for several days, being super sad, and then this boat with people on it are staring at him and talking about him as they approach, and it comes all the way up to him. People are like reaching out at him and worshiping him, and he's like, "Oh, it's just like I planned." It's so bittersweet.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and he sees one of the dead shards in a passenger on the boat. But he has cancer, so yeah. Then he touches him and kills the cancer, and this will allow the shard to grow. Before he turns and flies away.
And it's even like he kills the cancer cells, but then he like basically in a way that like maybe you could gene therapy someone or something in real life, but he like fixes the actual root cause that's like creating the cancer cells. Um,
Yeah.
which I mean I that just sounds like beyond modern technology to me. So he's using space powers.
Yeah, science awesome. And he's only got like his base package right now. Imagine how cool he is with the whole thing.
Yeah. What if he
My
could cure
God.
all the cancer all at once for everybody through his
He,
vast array of sight
yeah,
powers?
he could be like an actual god if maybe he'll grow to love Earth so much that
Yeah, I mean,
that he'll protect all its citizens and become their god.
I will say, like, even with us, already knowing the ending, this this chapter has that Star Wars 3 quality where I'm like, but maybe he'll be good this time. Like he kind of there's just like this weird arc of him being like in a standard story he would learn the value of humanity or whatever, like the Kevin Norton thing would
Yeah.
change him. And then this is sort of I it feels more of like what would actually happen kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean it's just like a tragedy for Zion. I mean, it's a tragedy for everyone because it's like it just happens and then it's like there's really nothing that they can do to prevent it and like Scion is too much of a mess on his own. Like
Well, cuz yeah, and
too much of a mess with too much power for him to not become evil at some point
well,
at least.
part of what I'm thinking is he's got so much power, but he's also so untethered from everything. Like he's not even really comparable to most like real world villains because it's not like he rallied a bunch of people behind him or something. It's like he's a complete
Hmm.
solo operator. His problem is that he has just absolutely no connection to the world. Um, and like his only like baseline ideology is to cause conflict to get data. So like,
Yeah.
he's yeah. It's
Yeah,
an
and
interesting villain to
he
me because he's kind of based outside of like what would be realistically possible for a person in real life, but it like
mhm.
still I think can tell us a lot about.
Are you saying that you couldn't recreate this in a realistic fiction
I am saying that in fact.
setting? I
Vic
agree.
is, of course, referring
Um,
back to someone that I know has recently said that uh they don't like any fantasy or sci-fi. They only like stuff that's in realistic settings, and that's kind of like a
yeah.
oh okay that's crazy moment for me. But
Yeah. You're just gonna do this. But yeah, I think oh Scion. I was gonna say Scion and Eden were like Defiant and Dragon,
oh
where like
yeah,
it,
oh yeah,
Eden was like necessary to do the emotional intelligence part.
we'll see a different
Um,
like interlude that is a like memory of another possible future, like using the future sight powers of like Dynet basically. And in that memory, like Scion and Eden are working together as I think they're called Thinker and Warrior, which I'm also fine calling them. So Thinker and Warrior are there, and they're like a gold and a silver like person, and they are so similar to the way that Dragon and Defiant operate. It's insane.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, not only is like Scion like dealing with the grief that has never been experienced by him before and he's never actually even had any like human emotions, so like this is probably pretty intense, but he like doesn't have the
Just
like
like
one
Defiant.
thing that's necessary for him. Yeah, exactly. He he doesn't have the one thing that's necessary for him to like be able to get through it, so he's just gonna be stuck there forever. And it's so sad. Um,
But you know what Defiant has
Yeah.
that Scion doesn't have? Homies. Exactly
A
two
backup of
homies.
his girlfriend. Oh.
No, 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 no. I meant during this conflict when he thinks that the dragon's not coming back. He's got
Yeah.
Taylor and Chevalier. Exactly two
Yeah.
homies. No more.
No more. Maybe less.
Possibly fewer.
Um, yeah. Yeah. So now we're in current day, ish. Weaver flies up to Scion and he recognizes her as the final shard that he had dispatched. And Scion's sadness
He's like,
strengthens when he
damn, you
sees.
got the ultra rare. I love that
Yeah,
one. That's my
yeah.
favorite
So like
collectible.
he sees it, and then he sees that it's like in mint condition. Oh boy, like it's getting all this good info and making all this progress, and that he's not going to be able to do anything with it. It's just all pointless, and then
But
he
you know
gets all
what?
sad again.
You know what's really funny though too is that he has a moment where he's like, "Skitter's a deadbeat mom."
Yeah. Our minions. Yeah, so Weaver's telling him not to approach. So Sion's like, okay, and just stays where he is and tunes her out while he thinks about Kevin Norton. He's like thinking about that time Kevin Norton was flipping out at him and told him to start helping people. And Weaver's like in the background, like trying to reason with him.
Well, it's also funny because he like
And
specifically thinks. Well, whatever second person narration of him is like having him think at one point that he took in all information around him, but it's also like, yeah, I didn't listen to her.
yeah, he takes in the information, but he's like, "Oh, that's interesting how everybody's freaking out about that guy down there." So then he
I
starts
listen
paying
to all
attention
sorts
to
of
Jack.
sources. It's fine.
It's like Weaver's standing in front of him, talking to him, and then Jack is like over there, and he's like listening to Jack instead. So he like look well, I don't know if he like literally looks towards him because the thing is Scion he has like the omniscient so he can like see all the things at once, right? But
I
he
think it's like a
also
limited
has like
form
his
of the
space eyes.
omniscience. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think he can tell what's happening with Jack because he's got like omniscience over an area, which is also like we see both a cape who has omniscience over all Earths as well as a separate cape who has a really specific like sees and hears all within a like cubic area and can concentrate it over whatever but like can't move. Like both of them have
Yeah.
drawbacks. One of them is so severe that they can't like communicate or like anything by themselves, and that even like backlashes onto people who like feel the power, and the other is just like insensate while they're using the power. But either way, it seems to really disconnect you so fully from your body that you like can't focus on anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe he just has to like target more or whatever. But yeah, he starts fucking paying attention to Jack because there's all this hubbub around him. And so Weaver like tries to start physically moving him. She's like grabbing and pulling him and pushing him and shit. And then I have a quote here.
Oh yeah. Oh, that. Okay. Uh, a confrontation had started between a young male and an older one. A fragment of a shard against a very mature shard. The most mature shard in this area at a glance. The more mature power was unleashed, a wavelength power, a kinetic transmission. The entity watched, and it recognized the shard at work. The broadcast shard, the same shard that had managed communication between the entity and its counterpart.
Wow. So, he's like, wow, that's crazy. And then he like sees one shard connected to 8 different hosts. And he's like, that's crazier.
Yeah, well,
He's
that
like,
one
the
specifically I
thing
think is
is, he's just like
Harbinger.
so Yeah, that one's Harbinger. He's just like so intrigued with what's going on around
He's
here.
like, he's like, damn, you guys have really been like,
He's
wow,
like, you guys
I
have
was
been
checked out.
working.
You guys have
There's like
really
so
fixed up
much.
the place.
Oh my God. So he turns back to the conflict between Jack and Golem, and he can see how the shard is helping influence Jack's actions because of the connection between them. And then Grey Boy catches Scion in his power, which unfortunately means Scion is even more alone with his thoughts for a little bit. And there's like so many dead shards around that it's like putting him in a mood, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
Because, there's just lots of cauldron capes here. So then he
I think
thinks
a lot of
about,
the Slaughterhouse 9 capes were Cauldron capes.
yeah, I think that you gotta be crazy. There has to be something like drastically wrong with you to be in the Slaughterhouse 9. So like if you're somebody who's like, I need power so bad that I'll spend millions and millions of dollars on it, regardless of what they ask me to do, then it's like, yeah, you probably fit in with the Slaughterhouse 9.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's alone with his thoughts. He's thinking about that one time that someone asked who he was, and he said Zion. He was thinking about the promised land that could never be because of the broken cycle. Oh my God, he's so emotional. um and then he starts thinking about other mythologies and the story of the sun being rolled across the sky, which I
The sun
kind of
being a
also
poop.
had in mind. Yeah, which I sort of also had in mind here for the art. Like he's like the sun and the rays. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the
Um,
way that you did the color splotches really, like, makes that work.
yeah. And then I have a quote here.
Yes. Abstract thought was that the sort of pattern that led to a connection, an inspired idea in the development of new thought and analysis? Um, I think it's kind of funny that Scion is not only not the thinker, but he's also given away all his smartest parts. So he's like the dumbest version of an entity that's possible. Like,
He,
seriously, the deck is so
is Zion a
stacked.
himbo?
Like, the deck is so stacked in their favor to begin with that they had to have like every bad thing happen to them in a row just for the humans to come out in like, the state that happens. Basically, it's just like they they have to come in damaged. The one who was supposed to do the planning couldn't plan. His shitty plan was bad. They overcommitted how much resources of like the good shards, like Taylor's and Jack's and Aisha's, that are like actually being sent into the mix. So they're like losing out on a ton of powers that are like really important because they think they have like they're overconfident. Like clearly the thinker is, but like he is too because he's just not seeing how far things could go, I guess. And yeah, it's his foolish himbo nature that allows them to have a chance.
He's seemingly like never thought defensively about like going into this gestation mode. Like he's never, I don't think he's like ever felt like he could be vulnerable. Um,
Yeah.
when
Well, I mean, and we do see
when
that
like in this.
he's so like unkillable anyway.
Yeah.
But
Um,
hmm.
so the Number Man and Contessa arrive, which just like confuses Scion even more because the Number Man is connected to the same shard as the 8 children they're beating up. And Contessa has an alive shard that isn't his as well.
I need to rewrite this
And then
chapter from the perspective of like surfer bro kind of, and like number man shows up and he's like, "What the fuck? Another one?"
yeah. Yeah. And then this is when Jack gets gooped and then he gets gray boyed. And then Tecton is repeating what Jack said to him, or whatever he heard Jack say to Golem. And I have that quote here.
Yeah, it's just you and me. I wish I had better company, but I'll take what I can get. Ironic that you're so boring. I bet you think you're noble. You're not. You're uglier than any of us, Sparky.
You're ugly and I hate you. Yeah, so Tattletale hears this over the comms, and she's like, phew, nothing to worry about. Crisis averted. And then she, like, gets quickly distracted by the one of the children Aiden triggered yesterday, and he got the power to control birds. Wow. And there's some hullabaloo about a dream and a picture. Charlotte's like, is this Charlotte or Sierra?
It's
Charlotte's
Charlotte.
like, I fucking showed you this picture. They go into their cabinet. Tattletale like flips past it, and Charlotte's like, no, 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 go back. And Tattletale takes out the picture, and she's like, oh, you're right. And then she like hands it to Charlotte, and then Charlotte's like, so what do you think about it? And Tattletale's like, what? Think
I
about what?
I think Westworld is a bad show, but the reference of them just sort of looking at something and going like, I don't see anything, or whatever the fuck
I
they
don't
say.
see anything here.
Yeah.
So, and Charlotte's like, holy shit, focus. But Tattletale asks Aiden to describe what he drew to her, and Aiden is able to remember it.
Although he's only able to remember it based on the drawing, he doesn't remember drawing it.
Yes. I think that the thing is, like, Tattletale, like, she's looking at the picture, and then it's like, since it's trying to connect dots, that she has to just see nothing for it to, like,
Well, it's also
for her
like
to, like, actually forget about it.
her power, like, literally has specific, like, tons and tons and tons of data at dealing with this blind spot thing because it's
Yeah.
literally Aisha's power. So
Yeah.
she's like,
It's true.
I'm one of the only capes who could see through this, thinks Tattletale.
Yeah.
Before she forgets.
2 seconds before she forgets. Yeah, so Aiden describes the picture to her, and things start clicking into place. And I have a quote here.
Yes, like viruses, like gods, like children, Charlotte said. Back on the day I first met you, you said that. Like viruses infecting a cell, converting it into more viruses, bursting forth to infect again, like gods. So much power, all gathered together. All powers stemmed from them, like children, innocence, blank slate. And so all that stuff after the Charlotte quote is, I believe, the Tattletale power.
Yeah. Blank slate. So Jack has continued his monologuing to Scion. And Scion is listening. Like I said, it doesn't really matter what he's saying.
Yeah, he's like he could hear
really
anything
bad.
out of Jack's mouth and he'd be like, so I've got to kill everyone, right?
I should kill everybody. Yeah, it's like he's like actually kind of just at his wit's end at this point. Like he's been flying around helping people this whole time, and like that has not been fulfilling to him. And he also like he seems to feel like strained and like exhausted in a way, but like he knows he just has to keep doing it because he doesn't know what else to do. So yeah. The Tattletale starts hacking into Dragon systems to try to get comms out, and Saint intercepts it. She tells him that Jack is the catalyst and that Scion is the cataly, the thing that catalyzes. And that he's going to cause the end of the world. And she says they need to get Gru back to blanket the area so that he can't hear Jack anymore. But which I don't think would even work on Scion. I think he could probably see through Gru's power fine.
And Gru's at like a totally different battlefield, right? He's not even in LA.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like okay, well, he's 4 miles away and all the teleporters are dead because of the what's the Endbringer that teleports?
Because he wasn't with them. Oh yeah, yeah. The Endbringer that teleports Konsu, but the Endbringer, or I mean the Gru didn't go in the mega team. It was only Rachel
Yeah,
from the
yeah,
Undersiders.
yeah. Rachel's the only that was the only one good enough to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Aisha was probably there
But we
this whole
forgot.
time, but we forgot about her. Um, yeah, so there's no teleporters, they're all dead. Gru's way too far away. Saint remembers the message from that woman who claimed she could control Scion, and he opens up the prompts to Defiant and asks for help. Wow, it's like that's like a big moment for you, Saint.
Mm-mm.
He even calls him his name instead of calling him um the cyborg.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bro, I
so
need your help, bro. Bro, this is important.
he thinks Defiant, he said to the cyborg, and it's like, come on, man. You were almost there.
Defiant, he
But
said
yeah.
racistly.
A craft approaches Scion, and it's blasting Lizette's voice over the speakers. And she tells him to turn away from Jack. And I have a quote here.
The entity moved, and it broke through the time distortion effect with ease. The craft had to fly in zigzags to keep pace with the entity's slow retreat from the scene. You broke free. Okay, good. Leave. Run.
I just think that part's really funny. Where she's like here, like trying to give a speech, and then she's like, you should turn away. And then he gets out of the time bubble. And she's like, oh. Um, yeah, so Lizette apologizes for not talking to him before. He's obviously very hard to get a hold of. She'd gone to the authorities, but nobody believed her. Scion flies away. He doesn't know what to do with himself, so he just circles the earth twice, and then he returns to the spot where he had first entered Earth as Scion. So Jack still had already finished speaking right before Lizette had shown up, enticing him to turn away from good deeds and return back to violence like your ancestors. That's basically all he says. He doesn't even have a good reason. He just is like, our ancestors did it. You should try.
Dude, but I swear, I like hear that shit as like a explanation for why bad things should happen in real life too. It's
Oh
just
yeah,
like,
that's true.
well, we did a bad thing in earlier in history, and it's like, so you're not gonna learn from that shit? You're using the bad thing as justification to do the same bad thing?
Yeah.
You sound like an
At
idiot.
least at least Jack knows that it's bad, I guess. He's like, you should be evil. It's not like he's trying to trick him into thinking that being evil is a good thing.
Yeah, he's like literally more
Um,
upfront than the.
yeah, he's just this is like the most straightforward I think we've ever seen Jack, to be honest. I feel like this is most aligned with what he actually thinks, which
I,
is not very much.
I do think it's also funny that blank slate, and it's like, oh, tabula rasa, bro.
Oh my god. Um, yeah, so Scion looks to all the possible worlds, and he sees one where Jack dies, but he still finds himself coming to the same conclusion years later on his own, which we'd already known from Dinah.
He's like,
That
even
this
if
would
I
happen
became some
regardless.
sort of granola, I would find myself as a conservative to be an anti-vax later.
He can't help it. All roads lead to the manosphere.
He's a Gen Xer.
Um,
He's